morning, everyone. I'm here live at the Sheraton Hotel in Springfield, where the Realtor Association of the Pioneer Valley is hosting an education fair. Now, realtors that are a part of this association are here today to continue their education and to make sure that they're keeping their standards up to where they need to be to provide service and everything that the homeowner needs to make sure that they are getting the most out of, obviously, buying and selling a home. Now, what we are going to learn about today is this association and what they do and how they continue to work towards whatever it is that the homeowner needs. Now, joining me now are Don Henry and Corrine Fitzgerald. Don Henry is the president of the Realtors Association of Pioneer Valley. Corrine Fitzgerald is the president of the Massachusetts Realtor Association, also past president of the Pioneer Valley Association. And they're here to tell us all about how you advocate for the homeowner. Corrine, tell us about really what you're all about in terms of making sure that you're doing everything you can for the homeowner.
Well, we advocate for homeowners in a couple different ways. We make sure that the regulatory and legislative issues that face anything that has to do with people's right to own property is taken care of. Realtors are the only ones that really advocate for homeowners, and we do that a couple ways. We do it on a grassroots level, and we have opportunities to meet with our legislators every year. As a matter of fact, June of this year, June 10th, will be our 30th anniversary of going to Beacon Hill to meet with our legislators to talk about issues that we're faced in Massachusetts. Now in May, every year, realtors from all over the country go to the Capitol. We go to Washington, D.C., and we meet with our legislators and also talk about what's facing homeowners on a national level.
Now, that's realtors that are a part of this association. So
That's
you
correct.
are making sure that they are staying current and they are attending these different workshops, fairs, speaking events to make sure that they know what's going on in
Yes.
every aspect of the market.
That's correct.
And behind us, there's actually many realtors sitting in courses right now taking classes, and that's what this education fair is about. Now, one thing I actually learned today is that there is a difference between a realtor and a real estate agent. Don, tell us what that difference is.
Well, once you become a licensee, you have to then go work for a broker. And when you do that, you have to select if you're going to work for a realtor broker or a non-realtor broker. If you end up working for a realtor broker, which everyone here has, you've now also become a member of the national, state, and local realtor associations. With that, we do have a lot of additional designations and courses you can take to elevate yourself in this business and provide that extra special service to your clients.
So a real estate agent is not the same as a realtor.
No.
So once you become a real estate agent, that means that you're licensed, but you're not a part of a firm. Is that correct?
No, you have to be part of a firm. You have to work for a broker, but that broker isn't necessarily a realtor broker.
Right. Okay.
Once you go work for a realtor broker, now you're subscribing to the Code of Ethics, and you're also working as an advocate for homeowners and their property rights.
So it sounds like a realtor is who you want to find.
Absolutely.
Because they do follow Code of Ethics, and they do, obviously, they're held to a certain standard.
Correct.
Okay. Now, how can someone find, if they're looking to sell their home, they're looking to buy a home, how can they find a realtor through your association?
We just launched our public-facing website yesterday. It's rapv.com. They can go on there. There is a search function. They can look for a realtor in any of the 3 counties we cover, which is Hampden, Franklin, and Hampshire County. So we do have in our association close to 1,600 members that they can choose from.
Fantastic. It's wonderful to know, because so many of us are buying and selling, to know that you exist and that you're here for us. You're doing all this work to make sure that we are getting the best service possible. So thank you from all of us that are out there buying and selling. So nice to talk to you, Don and Corrine. And we'll be here all show long during the education fair. The Realtor Association of the Pioneer Valley is putting it on, and we're going to be able to talk to some more people about the process of buying and selling a home and what you need to know as a homeowner or potential homeowner. Now, if you want more information, you can visit rapv.com. Here at the Realtor Association of the Pioneer Valley Education Fair at the Sheraton Hotel in Springfield. It's all about educating local realtors to make sure that they are on the forefront of the market, to make sure that they're benefiting homeowners as much as they possibly can. Now we're talking about tips for buying and selling a home. Joining me now, we have Ray Hess-Brooks and Brian Rissler. They're the co-chairs of the Education Fair and Expo. Gentlemen, nice to have you here. It's really great to see everyone in these classes furthering their education to make sure that they're learning all that they can to help out homeowners. Now, the first question I'm going to ask you, Ray, is Buying a home, what's the first thing you need to do?
If you're buying a home, the first thing you do is call your lender.
Okay, call your lender, which leads me to Brian. So Brian, lender, talking about home loans, what are some things that people need to know?
Well, there's a lot of information out there, Ashley, and due to the internet, probably too much information and still a lot of confusion. I think the main thing that people need to keep in mind is they don't need to have perfect credit. They need to be able to manage their account successfully for about 2 years before they can be eligible to buy a home. And they also need to know that they don't need a huge down payment. In this area, most people put about 3% down on the purchase of their home. That's about $6,000 on an average price $200,000 home. And that usually comes from personal savings, a family gift, the sale of the motorcycle, or the retirement account. The last thing that I would say is not all lenders are the same, so don't take no for an answer. If one lender can't help you, find out why and what it is that you need to do about your situation to make yourself ready, and what other lenders might be able to offer you a solution.
So the takeaway from this is really that homeowners or potential homeowners, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, you shouldn't be intimidated by the process. It really is accessible, and you want to get people into homes. So that's the goal, is really what it is. So making sure that you get that confusion out of the way is great. Now let's talk about selling a home. You want to sell your home, what's the first thing you need to do?
Call your realtor.
And that's you, Rick.
That's me.
Okay, so you're the realtor. Now, preparing your home to sell, obviously, you're not just going to wake up one day and say, I'm going to put my house on the market and there it goes. There's a lot you need to prepare.
There's a lot you need to prepare. You're going to call your realtor. The realtor's going to get there. The realtor's going to bring a current market analysis because everybody wants to know what the price of their home is worth. And we're going to do a walkthrough. We're going to do the outs, everything, all the buzzwords that you've heard your entire life ring true.
Curb appeal.
Curb appeal when you're selling your house.
Yeah.
And right now in spring, where everybody is waiting for spring, right now if we're going on the market, add color. We need to add color.
It does matter.
Totally matters. First impression always matters.
So brighten up the outside of your home. Rake the leaves.
Rake the leaves. Get your gardens all ready to go. Get there, because when someone is, you don't ever know when someone's doing a drive-by if they even admired that house, and if you're going on the market, be ready to go on the market.
Right, exactly. You also suggest that people depersonalize their home. What do you mean by this?
When you're doing the walkthrough with the agent will walk through, and you're going to declutter and depersonalize. Take anything that is like your family photos, for instance, anything that is yours, remove it, because the idea is you're selling your home, and the buyer coming in has to visualize themselves in that home.
And we've watched, the TV shows where we say, I want to live in that house.
Yes.
That's what you want to make your home look like,
You want to get it really close to a magazine.
Right.
You're really going to.
Because I want to live in all the homes that are in a magazine, so that's what you want. And that's what the realtor does to help you. Now, we're almost out of time, but Brian, I want to ask you about your role in the selling process.
Sure. Most people who sell a home are also buying. 90% of those transactions are going to be financed, so you also, as a seller, need to get to your lender and find out what your purchasing power is as well.
Right. So realtor, lender, very important players in the
Very
whole
important
process.
players.
And you're here at the education fair to make sure that you're on the total right cusp of everything that's happening in this world.
That's exactly.
It's a changing market.
Yes, changing market. Right. Thanks so much, Brian and Ray. Nice to have you here. People can log on to their website, rapv.com, for more information, but we'll be back here from the Realtor Fair in just a bit. Here at the Sheraton Hotel in Springfield, live from the Realtor Association of the Pioneer Valley Education Fair. Joining me now is Jack Lapamardo, and you are the chair of the Affiliate Realtor Committee. You're also an attorney, Jack.
Yes.
Okay, we're talking about the real estate process, which for someone that's never gone through it, it's a very overwhelming process.
Right.
So let's take it through just very, very basic in general.
Sure. The basic, of course, the first step is to list the property for sale or put it on the market for sale. And the seller does that. Then you hope you have an open house shortly thereafter, and most importantly, you get an offer at that open house. from
Right,
a
fingers
buyer.
crossed,
Yes.
you get an offer.
Right.
Okay, so then what happens after you get an offer?
That's when the attorneys get involved. Then you have the purchase and sale, which needs to be drafted, and that's really the contract that controls the entire real estate process. So it's very important. Once you get past the purchase and sale, both sides are doing their due diligence. So the buyer side is getting a financing and title search and doing all the things they need to do. Seller side, the same thing, getting a deed done and paying off all the liens. And then once everything's put together, you have your closing date.
Now, I think hearing this process for someone that's never gone through it, it might seem like, well, how do I know what that is, or how do I know what to go through it? what to do, you know, when the purchase and sale is due or whatever it may be. But your role as a real estate attorney is you hold their hand, I mean not literally, but you hold their hand and take them step by step through this process with all these legal nitty-gritty to make sure that everything is done the right way and on time.
That's correct. I mean, ideally you just let the buyer or seller know what they need to know, and you take care of everything else behind the scenes, and hopefully they just sit back and get
And
to close.
sign the papers
That's
that
right.
they need to sign, but it's important. I mean, having a real estate attorney is very important because you are really looking at all of those legal fine details and making sure that everything is done right.
That's correct. And the other thing to remember is you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, a purchase or a sale is sometimes the biggest transaction people make in their entire lives. So you need to have an attorney to protect you on both sides, and you have a buyer's deposit, which can be very important to the buyer. And if you lose that deposit, it's going to hurt.
Right.
So that's why you need an attorney to protect both sides.
Absolutely. They play a very important role. Now let's talk about some of the fees that people may not realize, not to scare them away, but make sure that they know some of the fees that are rolled into this whole process.
Sure. The great thing about the buyer side on the fees is those fees are going to be disclosed up front from the lender. So there shouldn't be too many surprises there. So just make sure you read the documents that are provided from the lender. On the seller side, you're going to have, you know, your realtor commission, your seller's attorney's fees, transfer tax, recording fees, and then some of miscellaneous things like getting a smoke detector certificate and all those fun things.
Right, and just like anything else, you look at the whole process and you think, I'm not even going to bother. But you take it one day at a time, and you have your realtor, your lender, your attorney that helps you through the whole process.
That's correct.
Yes, and then at the end, hopefully you're a homeowner.
Yes, well, that's a good thing, is everybody's working towards the same goal. So it's not a fight. Everybody's trying to either buy a house or sell a house.
That's right, exactly. So, but you play a very important role. Thanks so much for joining us today, Jack. Nice
Thank
to
you.
be with you and to be at the education fair where there are hundreds of realtors milling around, making sure that they know what's going on in the market and making sure that they can meet and socialize and network with other realtors as well that are a part of the Realtor Association of the Pioneer Valley. You can find a realtor through this association by logging onto their website, rapv.com. We're live here at the Sheraton Hotel in Springfield for the Realtor Association of the Pioneer Valley Education Fair. It happens once a year where realtors of the Pioneer Valley come together to continue their education. Now I'm sitting here with Ben Scranton and Lou Mayo. Ben is actually the CEO of the Realtor Association of the Pioneer Valley, and Lou is the president-elect of the Realtor Association of the Pioneer Valley. And it's great to be talking with you. I have learned so much about being a homeowner, or even going into selling my home as well. Now let's talk about becoming a realtor. If someone thinks, you know, that person that says, I'm ready for a life change, I want to do something different with my life, maybe I'll become a realtor. What should they do, Ben?
The state requires that you take 40 hours of classroom time. Now that's a pre-license course. So once you're completed with that 40 hours of classroom time, you then would take a test, which is a state mandated test. We offer the course at our association, so certainly people can look at our website to see when the next course is coming up. Also, they have other options. We certainly have firms that offer the course as well. So there's lots of options where members of the public can say, gee, I need to take the course and then get licensed. So they can look around and then do that.
And they can also contact you with
Absolutely.
any questions they have about becoming a realtor. Now,
Absolutely.
Once they get the pre-licensing courses done, they take the test, they pass the test, they have their license, right? Now, Lou, what do they do after they get their real estate license?
Well, then the first thing they want to do is, after getting their license, is they want to decide which company they want to affiliate with. You'll be an independent contractor, and as such, you work for yourself, but you do need to affiliate with a company of some kind. And you have choices. There are many choices out in the marketplace. Some of them are realtor companies that belong to the Realtor Association, and there are others who do not. But you want to make your decision based on who you feel is going to help advance your career the best.
So you definitely want to do some research, kind of look into these companies, see what's a good fit for you. And it sounds like you really do want to make sure they're a part of the Realtor Association of the Pioneer Valley, of course. Now, the difference between realtor and licensee is that...
Well, it's a registered trademark,
Right.
the term realtor. There's about 1 million realtors in the country, and here in the Valley there's about 1,600 realtors. So the difference is that you would affiliate and join a local association. Then you can use the term as a licensed trademark. We offer all sorts of benefits and services to the member, and they would come through, the new member would come through an orientation, and we explained those benefits at that time.
Right, right. So I want to wrap this up today with reminding the viewer that we're here at an education fair full of realtors, local realtors, and they're actually sitting in courses to make sure that they are learning what's new and what is current in the market.
Correct, correct. Right.
Now I want to just finish really quickly with people can go to your website. It's a wonderful resource, especially if they want to find out value of your home.
Right. We have a 5-year window of sales reports. So if people want to know what was the average price, median price, the number of single-family units that sold, let's say in Franklin County in 2011, or in any one of our counties here up and down the valley, or the whole valley, they can do that at rapv.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ben and Lou. Nice to talk to you today. And for more information, whether you want to become a realtor yourself, you want to sell your home, you want to buy your home, to find a realtor, visit rapv.com.